DNVR times NFL Network. You mentioned Jarrett Stidham before we went
butchered
live.
right out the jump.
And we got Jarrett Stidham joining us today.
He's got a great salad. I don't have a Jarrett Stidham salad like he does. He's a great dude, though.
Speaking of good looks, we got James Palmer in studio with us.
Good thing I'm not on the joint couch with Zach. Yikes.
I'll make sure that's the case next week when we have you back, or 2 weeks from now. And we've also got it's NFL times DNVR today. We got our guy Brian Baldinger, Baldy, rocking and rolling with us today soon. And we've got a very interesting show to bring to you today on the DNVR Broncos podcast in the Toyota Lounge, where we're rocking and rolling. James, how are you doing?
I'm wonderful, guys. I'm good. I had a great spring break up in Winter Park.
Oh, man.
Spent like 10 days up there shredding the gnar. It was snowed almost every day. Oh, we're up there with a bunch of friends. It was fantastic.
Dang.
Kid's getting to be quite the shredder, I'm not going to lie.
Oh, wow.
He's all over the map. I'm trying to keep up. I'm like, bro, make some turns. He's just bombing.
Man.
But it was awesome.
Yeah,
it was a good time. Good time to get away a little bit.
Perfect. Was that last week?
Last week,
So not only snow, but like nice weather too, I imagine?
Dude, it was really weird because it would like snow and then it'd be a bluebird, then it'd snow again and it went back and forth. Monday was a boatload of stuff dumped. It was a good trip. I love Winter Park, so that was our jam.
Henry, did you ever ski in Montana? I feel like I've never heard you talk about it.
Two of my mom's uncles were Olympic skiers. So they were skiing at like the Squaw Valley Olympics in the 60s, 64 maybe. So yeah, we skied a lot.
Wow.
A lot of skiing.
And you just missed the cut for that Olympic cutoff?
I don't know why. We never skied competitively. We just like skied a bunch. Just like every weekend you go ski.
Yeah,
and then high school, like after school you just go ski. Yeah.
Nice.
So you would say you're a retired skier now?
Well, so I brought my skis down here, but it turns out skiing here, it's packed and it's super expensive and it takes a couple hours to get there. And so I was like, I'll just wait till it's like a 20-minute drive up to the mountains again when I go home.
That's why you do what James did. You just go to Winter Park for a week.
That's the thing.
Boom, there you are.
We've done that a couple times and that's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But the whole like wake up at 5 a.m. and make the drive.
Not fun.
I can't do it. It's not worth it.
Yeah. Camp out in the parking lot. I'm not going through the tunnel. Anything before the tunnel.
That's very true. Yep. Speaking of retired, tried to draw that in.
Are
the Broncos going after a retired quarterback? Sean Payton had a very interesting comment that I want to pick your guys' brain about last week at the NFL Annual League meetings. Let's hear the comment straight from Sean himself.
Quarterback wise at this stage. Yeah, look, we felt it was in the best interest of our team, and now as we go forward, obviously we're in the middle of free agency. We're preparing for the draft. We'll look both of those avenues to not only address quarterback, but to address the other spots on the team. I think the draft is one element, and we're kind of in that phase now, and yet there's still a few possibilities relative to guys that are currently in this league or have played in this league. But, I think that we've got a pretty good plan in place. We understand what we're doing, and we're going to be smart about it.
So I should have prefaced that by saying that was Sean's very first question when asked about Russell Wilson, and then his answer was all about the quarterbacks. A little bit hard to hear, so let me read the line that I'm referring to. And again, talking about quarterbacks, he said, the draft is one element, and we are kind of in that phase now. There are still a few possibilities relative to guys who are currently in this league or have played in this league.
Tim Tebow. Talking about Tim Tebow.
Let's go.
Oh, boy. No, I'm just joking. I got to say it. I was telling you guys, I was in Jacksonville for Tebow's return at tight end for an entire week, first week of training camp. It was terrible. I mean, he was enormous, like one giant muscle. But it was one of those sad instances where everybody on the field knew, like, this guy shouldn't be out here. And it was kind of uncomfortable in that sense.
Yep.
It did not go well. I just had to throw that out there because it reminded me of Tebow.
I remember when that happened. I think the Broncos played Jacksonville that year. I'm not positive, but I think so. And I was just like getting visions, right, when they signed him to be a tight end. Like, Tebow's going to catch like 2 or 3 touchdowns on the Broncos. This is going to be awful.
It went awful. It went so bad. It went so bad. To look at the quote, and we heard it there too. I'm curious what you guys think. It is a little bit of coach. We can break this down from a variety of ways, but it's a little bit of a coach speak where it's like guys who are currently in this league, guys who have played in this league. That's kind of saying the same thing. I don't know if he's directly saying guys that are not haven't been in the NFL, like Brady, or I saw retired, Matt Ryan on there. Somebody played with Matt Ryan on the Broncos the other day. I played Matt Ryan in sports in high school.
Oh wow!
I played against him in basketball and baseball, not football. We didn't play against each other. Our schools didn't play each other in football.
Did you beat him?
I went yard off him in baseball.
Wow.
No way.
Yeah. Wow.
How is that
Basketball,
like not in your Twitter
great.
bio?
No, come on. He knows it. He knows it. That's all it needs to know. But there are guys you could technically say, when we could spin this to guys that don't have jobs right now are currently, guys who have played in this league. Guys that are not with a team, you are technically out of the NFL right now if you're not signed. This is part of the process where they're going to see what happens with the draft. Obviously looking for a quarterback, doing all their due diligence with it, with all the work that they've done with quarterbacks, and we can get into that. But if you land on the outside looking in with the number of teams that need quarterbacks, you still need to add another quarterback to your roster. So there are going to be guys post-draft that are available right now or will become available due to what their team does within the draft.
So
do you have any idea of who that could be?
Well, I'm trying to think. It's funny, they're not going to get a quarterback in the draft, but Cleveland has 4 quarterbacks right now, right?
That's why.
Somebody might not be like DTR might just be like, hey man, they know they love him in Cleveland, but all of a sudden they're like, I don't think we have room for you. And they're not going to carry. Well, they played 4 quarterbacks last year, so maybe they want to carry 4 quarterbacks.
Yeah.
But there is going to be kind of this secondary market. I'm not saying it's a great market, but there's a secondary market for quarterbacks probably post-draft that you can make a play on.
So, like, the one that jumps to my head is Zach Wilson. Who else?
I mean, Zach is he's still under contract right now.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd have to trade for him until
you
he's
mean guys
released.
that are just cut after the draft?
Somebody can be cut after the draft for sure, out of your quarterback room.
Yeah.
Because there are some teams that, if you look at the way it went, the number of backup quarterbacks that played this year was astounding. And it's been that way the last couple of seasons.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of impacted a little bit of the Broncos' thinking, because I kept hearing it's going to be a veteran quarterback added, and then they're going to go in the draft. Well, that whole first wave of quarterbacks, they didn't make a move. Well, I don't think a lot of people knew the market was going to be that hot for all of those guys. No. And they got paid the way they got paid, and they went off the board as quickly as they went off the board. Jacoby Brissett and Jameis Winston and Gardner Minshew, right away, all these different guys. So that kind of changed the landscape of some of these veteran quarterbacks because people wanted to be prepared with a backup. But also, some of these teams now have, say, there's Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew, and the Raiders are definitely one of these teams looking to trade up right now. I'm not speaking out of turn on that. That's definitely true. They wanted to do it last year and missed out on it, and so they were looking to do it again. Do they keep the rookie and both of those guys? I don't know. There's certain teams you're going to look at that you can call after the draft if we don't want the Broncos to wind up with nothing out of this draft quarterback-wise. But if that happens, you can make some calls, and there's going to be that second market post-draft.
Maybe like a Daniel Jones or Drew Lock, too, if the Giants do exactly what
6.
you said.
I don't know about Drew because, they just gave him $5 million to come there, and he's a really good I think he's a really good backup.
Totally.
Personally. But they could, somebody somebody in one of these teams. I'm trying to think of the quarterback depth charts everywhere. But there's also, would Trevor Siemian be back here? As your backup to Jarrett Stidham?
Yeah.
I mean,
would he be the
really
backup?
getting the
He would be
people
the
fired up with
I'm
that,
just
James?
saying, you're going to need another quarterback. It's not going to be.
Definitely.
My point is, if
You
you,
need
don't
at least
get a
3 per
quarterback,
camp.
you're not going to go into this season with Jarrett Stidham and Ben DiNucci.
Right.
But I do think, Sean is comfortable if it falls that way, starting Jarrett week 1. I do think he is comfortable with that.
You have to see all the things that have happened with the Broncos. I mean, they don't go and sign any of the quarterbacks. They don't trade for any of the quarterbacks. That has to be a massive sign that the plan is to get a rookie, though, right? Yeah. The plan isn't just to, Jared Verse is there because everybody's taking quarterbacks, and so we can just go find Tannehill after the draft and take Verse.
Yeah, Tannehill's another name. He is currently not in the NFL.
Yeah.
To your point.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So that's what he meant by that. Potentially,
No,
that's what
I read it.
though?
I read it as guys who are currently in the NFL or have played in the NFL. Like, I think he's talking about veterans. I don't think he's talking about like calling up Brady, who is trying to be a part owner of a team in the division,
but still hasn't done it. And that's the thing. He definitely isn't saying like we're going to go get Tom Brady or Drew Brees or something, because that would be insane. At the same time, though, after months of talking about all the rookie quarterbacks over and over and over again, the conspiracy theories are kind of fun.
Well, they almost were together in Miami.
Exactly.
Like, that almost happened.
Yep.
So I don't know if Tom's being like looking at this Broncos roster going like, yeah, Sean, let's do this.
Exactly.
I mean, he was very strategic the way he looked at
Exactly.
his one time at free agency, and he won a Super Bowl the first year.
Let's go down this conspiracy route just for one more second. I know you don't want to, but you mentioned it, James. They almost were together.
They really were. That was in like that was really far down the. I mean, obviously there was some penalty to it.
Yeah, exactly.
That was
Massive penalty.
definitely something that they both wanted to happen.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, they almost got in a Toyota together and just drove straight to Miami together. And speaking of Toyota, Toyota, shout out to our friends over at Toyota, where if they want to get in Toyota and drive to Centura Health Training Center together, they can stop at one of the Front Range Toyota stores where they've got so many. Visit them at Toyota, Auto Nation Toyota, Arapahoe and Centennial, Corwin Toyota in Boulder, Groove Toyota in Littleton, Mountain States Toyota in Denver, Stevenson Toyota East in Aurora, and Stevenson Toyota West in Lakewood. Whatever type of car you're looking for, whether it's a truck, whether it's a RAV4, whether it's a hybrid car, they've got 16 different hybrid vehicles to choose from the Tundra I Ford Max hybrid truck to SUVs, to so many different cars, including the RAV4 and the Grand Highlander. They've got it over at Toyota, which is the official automotive partner of the NFL and the official vehicle of DNVR.
Also, shout out to Raising Cane's. I think this is our first Raising Cane's ad read.
Yeah.
Is it?
We brought them up a couple
right
times.
down the street from me.
It's a good spot.
Those chicken fingers.
Dude, it goes Raising Cane's and then In-N-Out.
Oh,
and
wow.
then a Chili's. I'm going to drop the Chili's, but...
Oh, yeah.
Chili's.
You live kind of by Dick's.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, okay. We drove by there.
I can see Dick's right out my front window.
Wow.
There we go. Yeah,
Wow.
my girlfriend has a friend who
Yeah.
lives out there, and we were just driving that stretch a couple weeks ago. They're like, "Oh my goodness, this place is incredible." They have like this entire line of great food. But yeah, Raising Cane's is awesome. I just said this a couple days ago, but we actually got some coupons to go get some free tenders when we were doing our watch along down there. Free fingers, I should say. That place is the best.
You like this? Which sauce you go with?
I don't know. I like the barbecue sauce. Always the best.
Not the cane sauce?
The cane sauce is
The
elite.
cane sauce?
Classic,
Okay.
yeah.
I might need to check that one out next.
Yeah, I don't know how you did.
That's
It's in the name.
it's
Yeah.
incredible. It's the best sauce out there.
Raising Cane's is just awesome, though. I mean, the price also kind of crazy that it's as inexpensive as it is when you go to other fast food places. But they've got the chicken tenders, crinkle cut fries, buttery Texas toast, coleslaw, secret cane sauce, all that sort of stuff. You can find your local Raising Cane's location or order on mobile or online. For cooked to order, hand battered chicken fingers, race into Raising Cane's, turbocharge your chicken fingers and get them even faster by ordering online at raisingcanes.com or through their mobile app, Raising Cane's Chicken Fingers. One love.
I think
I didn't know that One Love is
baby.
that.
Little Bob
One Love,
Marley
yeah.
with them.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
I think everyone but Henry got your Dick's joke there, James. Everyone in the Toyota chat saying pause.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
there we
you
go.
look out the window
There
and
we
you
go.
just see
See
dicks,
dicks.
yeah.
Yeah, see dicks.
Henry's too
Especially on
focused
the
on
4th of
chicken
July,
fingers.
too, yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Not from Colorado. There's a stadium.
Yeah.
Called Dick's Sporting Goods
That's your
Park.
stadium, you
That's
hear?
my home stadium.
That's your home stadium?
So
the
that's where I
Rapids.
spend the most time as a fan.
So close to my house.
It's an incredible time. It's cheap too. Might as well go.
It's very true.
We
One
ride
love,
our bikes
right?
We ride our bikes to games there. all the
Damn,
time.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get in this conspiracy theory because Tom Brady is like the one that people point to when they hear this quote and they interpret it like I did. Like, did he just point to a retired quarterback? Because that's seriously how when I heard it, that's what my mind went to. I'm glad to get your perspective, though, James, that it could just be Trevor Siemian, who's not signed right now. But if you want to go the crazy route, Tom Brady's a name that popped to a lot of people's heads I saw out there on the internet. And you mentioned it, like, those two wanted to work together so much that the Dolphins were fined a first-round pick because of how close it was to happening. So you have that there. You have a very interesting Instagram post from Tom Brady on December 31st this past year, who was looking back at 2023.
Okay.
Maybe it was a joke. Maybe he was serious. He said, the only downside to 2023 was when I was about to unretire in May and my friends threw a surprise retirement party. Kind of forced my hand. So it's like, was he really ready to come back last year? And then you're like, well, he's like, what, 47, 48, 49, something like that? And you're like, well, is he still in shape? He just ran a faster 40 time this year.
Did you say Tom Brady's
than he did when he was
49
coming
years
out.
old?
I don't know.
It's 46.
Oh, 46.
He'll be 47 when the season starts.
Even better. Even better. He's only 47
He's a spry 47 as opposed to
years
49.
old, still running fast. And the one thing that people point to is they're like, well, he owns the Raiders. He owns a part of the Raiders. Not yet. That hasn't gone through. Roger Goodell confirmed that last week that hasn't gone through. Maybe. Is this the holdup? Sean trying to bring him back?
I don't think so.
I had to put the case out there.
You had
for
to put
the
it out
people.
there. But, would Brady want to play for this team?
No.
Wasn't there a rumor, I don't know if it was a report rumor last year, that the 49ers reached out to him? Mm-hmm. And to your point, if he didn't want to play with his hometown 49ers with that roster, with Kyle Shanahan, there's no downsides to that. If he doesn't want to do that, it's probably not wanting to come to this roster.
not
Maybe
great.
he'd want to come to Sean Payton, but not this roster.
No. I listen. I think we should be, trying to help everybody watching right now with what could possibly happen with the Denver Broncos in 2024. not what could happen in Zach's head about what's going to go on out there. But listen. They do have a great relationship. They did want to be together in Miami. They tried to get together in Miami. I think things have drastically changed since then. Obviously, with everything on both of them. I mean, Tom's spending all of his time prepping for this Fox gig.
Yeah.
That's what he's doing. And you're going to tell me he's going to make the same amount, roughly, a little less, being able to sit in the booth, than going out there and.
And we know the discounts Tom's taken in the past too. He might actually make more in the booth. So you mentioned Jarrett Stidham and Ben DiNucci. Those are the only two guys on the roster right now, which is crazy. And that's why it's like, what the hell is their plan? That's why you go places like Tom Brady, Drew Brees, right? And then you go through all these retired quarterbacks, and you're like, what are they doing? You mentioned the Raiders are a team that is serious about trading up.
Big time.
You think the Broncos are serious about trading up as well from 12?
I think so. I just don't think they have the ammunition that the other teams that are also looking to trade up have. And I also look at it like, okay, you traded up, you got that quarterback. Then what are you building around that quarterback? Because now you don't have picks, and you don't have the roster to support the quarterback either. I look at when the Chiefs made the jump for Patrick Mahomes. That was a really good team.
Yeah.
Yep.
So when you're in that position, you go, hey, we have a pretty good team. We have Alex Smith playing pretty decent at quarterback here, but this is a guy we're in love with. We can afford to move up and give up some picks to get this guy because the roster's already pretty much in place that those future picks that we're losing, I don't want to say they're not necessary, but they're not as vital to building your roster because of where we are right now. Like an interesting thought process is kind of like Houston right now, if what you're watching, what they're doing with the trade that they made today for Stephon Diggs and the picks that they gave up there. Like, you make big moves after your quarterback play a lot of times and when your roster starts to get into a better position. I don't know if the Broncos want to have limited picks moving forward, even if they – I know getting the guy is so important. So important. It's vital to success in the NFL. But, man, I don't know – what they do once they get him, if they do get him.
Yeah.
But then you can maybe build around him in some other variety of ways because you are in a rookie contract, but you will lack picks, which they need. They need roster rebuild.
They do.
In its entirely.
And when you say that, what I hear is the smart move in your mind is to do the opposite, not trade up, to trade back and then roll with Stidham this year, Stidham and Tannehill, Stidham and one of these guys that you mentioned earlier that could be
Who's
cut.
to say, where's Penix go? Who's to say you can't trade back and still get Michael Penix?
Well, can you do that? Because this past week, Penix's stock has seemingly skyrocketed now.
40 time, baby.
Exactly.
On those new ACLs.
Crazy. Yep.
Yeah.
Now, he was viewed by some as like a third, second round pick, some as a late first round pick, so skyrocketing up. It might be just like mid-first or late first right now. Do you think that he is a pick that could happen at 12, at 13 to the Raiders, at 11 to the Vikings?
Yeah. I don't think the Vikings are staying at 11.
No.
Honestly. You don't make that trade with Houston to get another first-round pick if you're not going to move up. Honestly, everything is going to be determined on pick number 3 with New England because Caleb Williams is going to go 1, right? Even though there's all this buzz about Jaden Daniels right now and how people say they should take him, but Caleb Williams most likely will go 1.
Yep.
I mean, like the Bears have spent time with his teammates, with him. Like he spent time around the Bears already. It's pretty far down the line of preparing him already. So he has a head start when he gets into the building. But then the Commanders have their pick of Jaden Daniels and Drake May, essentially, is what a lot of people say, or J.J. McCarthy, who's climbing boards in some weird way.
So you're not buying JJ too?
I don't, man. It is split out there across the league on J.J. McCarthy. There are some people that love him. There are some people that are like, I'm serious. It is. Depends on who you talk to. Some people, and that's why this position's so insane to evaluate, and so hard to evaluate.
Where do you think the Broncos are with JJ?
I don't know. I mean, nobody in a team. Here's the thing. What I do, I talk to all these guys that I trust that are really good quarterback evaluators. A lot of times, the teams that need a quarterback, they're not going to be real honest to you about their evaluations on the quarterbacks. I remember talking to one team, and I think I was doing a bunch of receiver work a couple years ago, and their guy told me everything that he loved and hated about 4 receivers, and he just left one out. And that was the one that they took in the top half of the first round. He was I went back and looked at my notes and I went from talking to him, and I was he wasn't going to say anything about the guy that they really liked. So you talk to these. So my point is, when you say how do you think the Broncos think about JD? Yeah. They're not going to tell you how they think about any of these quarterbacks. Teams that really need a quarterback are the ones that are not tipping their hand on what they think. So you ask the teams that don't need quarterbacks, who are still evaluating them because it's part of the process. They'll be pretty honest with you about how they feel about each of these quarterbacks because they don't need one. So they're going to tell you, man, I don't like this, and I do like this. That's who you have to talk to. So I don't know Denver exactly how they feel about McCarthy. But my point is, at 3, that we're going to find out, if they don't if the New England doesn't like whoever the Commanders don't take, then the chaos can ensue. Yep. Then their pick could be for sale.
Marvin Harrison,
my understanding right now is, the top 3 teams are all kind of we're good. They're not really listening to trade. I mean, they're listening, but they're not really being we're not probably moving out of this spot.
And that makes sense. If you need a quarterback and you love a quarterback.
Exactly, but that could change for New England come draft day when they find out, they really like Drake May. We're going to wind up with Jaden Daniels. That's not really fits what we want. We're now for sale, or we're going to take a player. So that's where the draft will really begin after the Commanders pick. Then it'll figure out where you're at in terms of how far you have to get up. And teams are going to want a team that's further back to trade with them because
you get more.
You have to get more. You have to go further. If you look at the equation that is in play, if at 6 the Giants want to come up, they're going to be well, we can't give you all this. We're moving up from 6. I got so-and-so back at 12 and 13 that are going to give us this to come up. So that's when the real dancing will begin, I think, after 2.
So if you're the Broncos, what do you want to see happen? Because obviously Caleb Williams goes 1. Number 2, do you hope Jaden Daniels is off the board? Do you hope J.J. McCarthy surprises everybody and so maybe one of Drake May or Jaden Daniels slips?
Let's have James answer that after we talk to our guy Baldy. And let me tell you about Game Time before we get to Baldy really quick because we've got Rockies opening day in Denver this Friday. And if you want to be at the game, go to Game Time to get the best prices you hear is going to be there. And he was on Game Time, and he looked last week. Tickets were $160. He got them for $80 just yesterday, I think. So half off already because of the Rockies' 1-5 start to the season or something like that.
So far.
Price is probably still going to slide, and then you're going to get $20 off if you use the code DNVR over at Game Time. So you can get a ticket that was over $150 last week for $60 using that code DNVR over at Game Time. Of course, you can also see the Nuggets and Avs as well. And, of course, any concert. So make sure to download the Game Time app and use that code DNVR for $20 off your first purchase.
Also, we're having a watch party down at the Ice House, 9 a.m. And we're actually having that watch party with Breckenridge Brewery, one of our great partners. There's going to be deals on Breckenridge beers. I'm not sure. I guess Strawberry Sky is always a good one for opening day. The Avalanche is just like a classic opening day beer. Obviously, like, not the time for the vanilla porter, for example.
I do love the vanilla porter, though.
It is good, but it's just
it's phenomenal.
It's not the time. Breckenridge Brewery is awesome. We do a whole bunch of things with them. We're about to announce another thing we're doing with them that's going to be coming up here at the end of the month, which is going to be a lot of fun. But they have a whole bunch of awesome things that they do. They've been brewing beers here for 33 years, use 100% renewable energy, all that sort of stuff. If you want to buy some of their beers, you can go to breckbrew.com to find a brew near you.
All right, let's bring in another NFL Network legend, Brian Baldinger.
Hold on, Mastermind.
Baldy, what is up?
What's going on, guys? Good to be with you here. 22 days away.
Yeah.
From county, and we're working and grinding and seeing if we can find a few nuggets here for the Broncos who need a few nuggets right now.
Yeah.
Yes, they certainly do. And Baldy, my question to you is: we broke down someone, I believe Mike Clay from ESPN, put out the roster rankings, and he had the Broncos as the second worst roster in the NFL. And we kind of broke it down yesterday. Of can you add a rookie quarterback to a roster that's that bad, or do you need to build up a roster first for a year or two before you add a rookie to that group?
Well, if you get a chance to get a great quarterback, you just begin the process. You hope you don't ruin them along the way with, not the right pieces around them. But that's maybe what Jared Stidham is for, to start this season. But I believe if you have the opportunity to get what you think is a franchise quarterback, you have to do whatever it takes to get it. And then if you don't feel like you could get him, then you just keep building pieces and try to strengthen the team around them the way San Francisco was, so that Brock Purdy could step in and play at the level that he did. I mean, that's the perfect example of a guy, 7th round pick, Iowa State, comes in and plays great, but the roster around him was great as well.
The one strength that, according to Mike Clay, the Broncos roster has is the offensive line. And I think I would agree that it probably is like a top 10 group in the NFL with that question mark at center still. You would imagine, though, that if you're going to put a rookie quarterback into a team that has a pretty weak roster, that would be the one group that you want to see pretty strong, is the offensive line, right?
Yeah. I mean, look, I remember when the Cowboys, it was bought by Jimmy Johnson, and, they were a dreadful team, and I was there at the very end. But the one thing they had was, they had Nate Newton and Mark, 2-A and Kevin Gogan. I mean, they had the basis to protect Troy Aikman for that first year and thereafter. But they had, and so I would say I would agree with that. However, I never think you could be a top 10 offensive line without a strong center. And I think it's a big hole in that line right now. Fortunately, this is a good draft for centers.
Great to see your face, Baldy. Not gonna lie, it's great to see you. I'm looking at building this roster because these guys are just quarterback, and I'm looking at a roster that probably needs some help. If you're sitting there at 12 and your quarterback that you want, obviously, to trade up for is gone, and you're not going to take quarterback at 12, where the Broncos sit, do you feel trading back and acquiring assets is probably something that needs to be looked at pretty heavily because of where they stand as a whole?
I do, James. I mean, I think there's a lot of teams that could be in that category, but obviously Denver doesn't have a second-round pick. I think this is a good draft to be in the second round.
Yes.
To have multiple second-round picks, the way the Eagles do, the Jets do. There's some teams that have multiple second-round picks. I believe this is a good draft for it. You can find starters at key positions in the second round of this draft, especially the way tackles and quarterbacks, some elite receivers are going to fly off the board here. So I would seriously consider that because I don't think – I mean, I can't sit here and rank all these rosters, but I would agree that the Broncos are at the bottom right now talent-wise. And it doesn't look like it can get cleaned up real fast. And one way you could do that is by acquiring picks and then, like the Rams, hitting on those picks the way they have over the last few years without number one draft picks.
Yeah.
So, Baldy, let's say the Broncos do go down that route of not going quarterback in the first round this year, whether they stay at 12 or they trade back. What position or what player would kind of be a dream pick for them in that scenario?
Well, I mean, if you trade back, I mean, I think you have a chance for, the number one center in this entire draft right now.
Oh.
When you take a look at Jackson Powers Johnson at Oregon, or Graham Barton. I think Graham Barton's going to be a terrific center at a Duke. He was left tackle the last 2 years, played center his rookie year when all the centers got hurt. I know he could play it, and I've talked to him. He's talked to a lot of teams. They all kind of look at him and tackle, guard, center. But I think center, number one, because I feel like fix the offensive line if you get a chance. This is a good draft for centers. Go get yourself a stud, and put that together. Say, okay, we got our 5. Now we can start kind of building out from there, whether it's pass rusher, corner, receiver, some of the need positions right now. I would try to fix that position. I think you could do that. If you trade down, you can still get one of the 2 guys I just mentioned, I would think, with the pick still in the first round.
Interesting. Going back to quarterback. Of course.
I tried to follow your path, James.
So I tried to lead him to water.
The quarterbacks. We love the quarterbacks. Yeah. We haven't talked to you since Michael Penix Jr.'s pro day, where he ran that 40-yard dash. Should we care about that?
Yeah, you should.
Yeah? Okay.
You should pay attention to Michael Penix. I said I did a podcast with Michael maybe a month ago, and I met him during the Super Bowl, and I said, I got a podcast. You got to come on, Mike. Let's talk about things. And so, anyways, we talked about a lot of things, transferring from Indiana and not being recruited out of high school and going to Washington and getting to Dunze, McMillan, and Polk to stay with Kalen DeBoer and his offense coordinators in Seattle now, all this stuff. And then we got to, when you get healthy, are you going to be one of those, low 4.6 guys in the 40? And you're going to run. He sort of started laughing at me. He goes, I'm not running any 4.6. I go, so you're like in a 4.5, like a Russell Wilson type. He goes, no, I'll be in the 4.4s. and so then you go, I mean, there's not many guys that could do that. I've talked to Kyler Murray. He said he was never timed since Allen High School in Texas, Lamar never got time. Some guys, you just know they run in the 4.3s or 4.4s, but they never got time. He ran in the 4.4s like Anthony Richardson did. I think it's significant because he wasn't asked to run a lot. He didn't have to. He's really good at reading progression, had a really good dynamic pro offense, and so he beat you from the pocket. But when he had to run, he ran away from people. So I think that's significant right now. The fact that, unlike Jaden Daniels, who looks to run and is a great runner, I don't know if he's built to run, but he's a great runner. I don't think Michael Penix is looking to run. He's looking to beat you from the pocket. And the reason why your question is significant is when he does have to run, he runs away from people.
Yeah. I saw Kyler Murray play at Allen, Baldy. I went to that stadium down there. Saw him play while he was in high school.
You know what's funny, James, about that down in Texas is because I have a farm not too far from Allen. Of
course.
They build the football stadium first. And whatever money's left over, then they build the school.
It was the best because the marching band performs and nobody marches because the band's so big, the entire field is taken up by the marching band. So everybody's just really standing in place and performing at halftime because the band is so big. And with Penix, I agree with you, Baldy. Teams are kind of like some care. Everybody is concerned. Some care less. When they look at the medical of Penix. I'm looking at this pick if tight end is a strange position in the top end of the draft, right, Baldy? Just because of the way tight ends are paid. You pick one at the top. Are you getting the value you're looking at? But we're looking at the value of that position in this league now. If Brock Bowers is sitting there at 12, but you still don't have a quarterback, is that tight end still extremely valuable at that pick?
It is in Sean Payton's offense.
Yeah. I think he could play the slot, too, for you. He could play the Michael Thomas role.
He can. You just look at the history of Sean Payton and big tight ends, whether it's Jimmy Graham, Ben Watson, whatever. Like, he's had tight ends that were difference maker, especially in the red zone. He's maniacal about red zone offense, and sometimes you just get a big tight end that you can throw it up to. Or a guy that can win in the routes or against man cover, whatever it is. He's a difference maker. And so I believe that was a real missing component to this offense a year ago, and why they didn't finish drives, and why there might have been certain blow-ups on the sideline where they didn't score when they got close to the end zone. And so I do think that it's a real consideration going forward to get an elite player, an elite talent like that can really win in the red zone specifically.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be a really exciting pick. Despite it being the tight end position, Brock Bowers is a beast. But enough with non-quarterbacks. Back to quarterbacks here. Baldy, maybe a guy that's just not talked about around the NFL a lot is Bo Nix, yet he still seems to be that potential first-round quarterback. Do you think he is worth taking in the first round, specifically at 12 for the Broncos, or is he a guy you maybe wait on?
That's high.
Well, it's high. I mean, look, he's played 61 games. And you go, that's a great thing. Nobody's ever started 61 games. But in 61 games at the college level, you would think that he'd even be more dominant, than he was. And he was good, but he wasn't, they couldn't beat Washington, for example. Mm-hmm. Like when he had chances to beat Washington, they played him 3 times the last 2 years. He couldn't do it. I think it almost works against him playing 61. I don't think playing 12 games like Mitch Trubisky or Anthony Richardson is the answer, but I think somewhere where you could see a steady growth, like in Penix. Okay, you leave Indiana, you go to Washington, you start 27 games, you stay healthy, and you see this meteoric rise, and his level just go up, up, up. I didn't see that from Bo, but I think Sean Payton knows exactly what he wants, and it would surprise me if Bo Nix was his guy. And I'm not here to knock Bo Nix, but I think Sean Payton knows exactly what he needs after spending, 15 years with Drew. Like, I think he knows what it takes at that position.
Yeah, and I think in going back and watching him, it feels like all these other quarterbacks, people talk about the receivers they have. Like J.J. McCarthy, it's like the great team around him. Or with Jaden Daniels, you've got Malik Neighbors. And there's almost kind of this cop-out there. Whereas I don't hear people talking about the talent that Oregon has as much. Troy Franklin, a potential first-round pick, with the running back they have there, who could be, he should be one of the top running backs off the board. There were so many times where Bo was just throwing the ball to somebody who's wide open, and in Bo's defense, he's getting the ball to him and letting him run, but it's throw the ball 8-10 yards to the guy who then takes off and runs for a touchdown. Is that kind of the concern there? Just that it's a lot of wide open receivers short who then run with the ball afterward? And why would that not be a perfect fit for an NFL offense?
Well, you're what you're looking for. You can make the case, like every single quarterback is a projection because the game is so different at college than it is. And that's why teams consistently miss on quarterbacks, because the game is so different. And so, the Oregon offense, the way that they run it, there's just, you start the game with 20 completions. Now, what do you do when it's 3rd and 14 and you're doubling Troy Franklin and you got to go someplace with the ball? I can see when Christian Gonzalez is all over Rome Odunze in 2022, and Penix got to go someplace else with the ball, and he does consistently. So, but you have to project all this. You go through these quarterback reels of all these quarterbacks. Spencer Rattler, name one, and you're looking for NFL type throws, the tight window type throws, and the throws where you're going against, a man-free defense, and every guy is getting pressed the way Notre Dame did, against Caleb Williams this year. And you're looking to see if he can make those throws. And so all of a sudden, 61 games gets narrowed down to like 50 throws over 6 years. And that's kind of what you study. And you see, all right, arm strength, accuracy, off balance, off schedule, scramble drill. You're kind of studying those throws. And you're throwing almost everything else out at that point.
Michael Penix hanging out with the Raiders today, Baldy, on an official visit. That's not super surprising. Baldy, well, I want your take before we go on the edge. It's still a need, I think, for the Denver Broncos. Jared versus Dallas Turner. What do you see between those two guys? They're different, and just kind of break the two down that could be at the top of the group for a lot of people.
Well, Jared Verse is bigger. He's bigger. He's a classic 4-3 defensive end. I think Dallas Turner is a true T.J. Watt outside linebacker, pass rusher. can play, in a 3-4, can play the 4-3, can play with his hand down. He just has elite skills in Dallas Turner. Like I see an advanced skill set that he has. The Jared Verse, like if you watch him, I don't know, against Graham Barton or whatever, he doesn't overwhelm me when I see him against a pretty good offensive tackle. Although the length and everything that you're seeing there is all there. I've watched a guy like Edgerrin Cooper from Texas A&M. If you just put in the Alabama game, James, you're like, oh, he's a top 20 pick.
Yeah.
You see everything. You see unbelievable suddenness, pass rush ability. He can close with the best of them with his speed. You just don't see it week in, week out. But in the biggest game that he played, he had his best game that I saw him play. But Dallas Turner looks like he's the cream of this crop at that position. And I believe he'll be the first edge off the board. Mm-hmm. It's just a question right now of who that's going to be with and who's going to take him right now.
Baldy, last one for you here. Kind of taking a big picture look at the NFL right now. The news of the day is the Texans trading for Stephon Diggs. Are the Texans the biggest threat to the Chiefs in the AFC now?
Ooh.
Well, I think so. Because, Baltimore is still going to be very good, but they've got a lot of changes from defensive coordinator to certain talent drain on the offensive line. Patrick, Queen gone. Lamar still has to show us in a big spot that he can just go throw it the way you got to throw it to win these huge games. I'd say Houston, certainly, I thought Nico Collins looked like a number one receiver to me last year. So to get Diggs and Nico and Tank back and Schultz and Mixon, and I think Dameon Pierce is going to have a big bounce back year. Like I would say, and what they've done defensively, I think Houston with Baltimore right now are the two teams. And we got to see the health of the Jets throughout the season. But I would say they're in that conversation for sure that they are loading up with Danielle Hunter now and now Stephon to go big and to go win big in the postseason.
Man, and Baldy, we win big every day that you join us. So thank you so much for rocking and rolling with us and all your insight.
Thanks, guys. You bet, man. I'll talk to y'all soon.
See you, Baldy.
James.
Man, awesome insight from both NFL.
Yeah. I would throw the Bengals in there.
It's insane. And Baldy throws the Jets in there. I do think if Aaron Rodgers stays healthy, they're building up. It really is.
I think we have to
stacked.
forget, it was only a small amount of time, but when Burrow got rolling for that little middle section, oh my, he's so good.
But then the beginning of the season too, though, where it was not great.
Oh,
but that's what it's been like.
Well, he didn't practice the entire training camp.
That's
Remember,
fair.
he had the calf the entire training camp, and then it was not great. And then he was like, and actually, the funny thing is that team has started slow the last 4 years.
That's crazy.
It's really weird how they get out of the gate so slow. If you remember the year they went to the Super Bowl, I think they won 10 straight heading into the Super Bowl. They were started really slow.
And we still haven't said the Bills.
Yeah.
Because they kind of feel out of it. Not out of it, but you have the Ravens, the Bengals, the Texans.
That
the Bills
was always the concern. When I did the playoff game there up in Buffalo against Kansas City, it was if this is the mentality there in Buffalo was if this is our time to take down the Chiefs, it's in our place. This team's about to get blown up. Everybody knew the team salary cap wise was in just a terrible position. It had to get blown up. Now's our time, and they didn't get it done. And obviously they're going through a massive roster reorganization there. Just huge. Remember, Stephon Diggs' salary cap number is going to jump to 27 million this year from 17 last year. That's a big number, but all the other receivers on that roster pretty much are on rookie deals. So.
What are we talking about the Broncos doing? Taking $85 million dead cap with Russell Wilson. They're kind of taking a step back in order to take a step forward in the future. That's what the Bills are doing with these contracts. They're taking $30 million in dead cap with Stephon Diggs by moving on from
But look at what it's a different situation, but similar in the same thing. The team we're talking about in Houston, they had to move on from Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
Now, they got a lot in return for Deshaun Watson as opposed to the Broncos getting nothing in return other than dead cap numbers from Russell Wilson. But if you look at what Houston ended up doing those couple of years, just rebuilding their roster, putting cornerstones in place, getting guys that really this was the sense. We'll sign free agents on 1 or 2 year deals that are looking to prove themselves, guys like Rex Buchalter, I think Jerry Hughes and guys like that. They flipped that roster, but they flipped it in They got the quarterback and they flipped it in like 2 years or 3 years.
Yeah.
They were like the worst team in football for 3 years straight.
Yeah.
Which was awful.
Yeah.
But they did rebuild their roster the right way.
Right.
And then when the quarterback came in, it was like
Yep.
pretty decent. And that's the funny part because the roster wasn't phenomenal, but they did build it in the right way. And then they were in a great ability to spend more money than anybody else did in free agency this past year. You kind of do that once you get the quarterback. So, like, it is a weird spot that Denver's in. That's why all my questions were about building your roster.
Yeah.
And I don't mind trading back. Baldy is dead right about the second round. Like, teams are in love with guys in the second round right now. Most teams have about, like, 12 to 15 either 5-star or blue or whatever the board says in terms of those top group. So if you can get those guys after that group, second round's a really, really good spot.
Man, George Payton just got to be kicking himself right now, like, because George loves the draft, and that's where GMs thrive, is like after those top picks go off the board. And let's get back into Henry's question about the top of the first round to James after I tell you about our friends over at Illegal Pete's. James, are you more of a spicy marg guy or like a fruit marg guy?
Sounds more manly, and I'll say spicy marg
There
guy.
you go.
Fruit marg guy? No.
Well, I don't know. I can always go for a prickly pear. I can go for any type of marg. And when I was over at Illegal Pete's 10 days ago, they were advertising a watermelon spicy marg. So I got it. Amazing. So you can be both over at
It's
Illegal
a touch of
Pete's.
everything. Yeah, it's kind of nice.
You get it all, and Illegal Pete's has the best margs, the best nachos, queso. You can get their fish tacos. Really, really good. So whether you live in Denver or Colorado, actually, because they have Illegal Pete's all over the place in Fort Collins, also in Boulder, and, of course, in Denver, or you're visiting, got to check out Illegal Pete's. It's a great happy hour spot. Happy hour till 8 p.m. with great deals. So check out Illegal Pete's.
And make sure you sign up for the Inner Circle membership with Circle K because they're basically giving you free money. You can get 25 cents off a gallon for each of your first 5 fill-ups of gas after joining. And there's a bunch of other perks, too, like you get your first 5 Polar Pops free. You get every 6th item free on pizza and roller grill items, dispensed beverages, donuts, more. You also can sign up very easily. It's a free membership. It's easy to download the app. You just use the QR code that we have on the screen right there. Enter your email and phone number. You can be fully enrolled in just a couple of minutes. And after that, you just need your phone number to get all these deals when you go to Circle K. So use that QR code right there or visit circlek.com/inner-circle for more information. Like I said, free any size Polar Pop from Colorado Circle K's. Oh, this is actually for everybody. If you text DNVR to 31310, that's DNVR to the number 31310. Message data rates may apply. Periodic recurring messages per month. Terms and conditions can be viewed at circlek.com.
James, you mentioned that the Raiders are meeting with Michael Penix Jr. today.
Broncos did too yesterday.
Yeah.
Broncos did yesterday. He's really making the rounds and really picking up serious steam right now.
Because he processes well.
Yeah.
And he's accurate. And the ball's out of his hands really quickly. Well, those all sound like Sean Payton type of.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Check.
Everybody's been saying Bo Nix is the Sean Payton guy. It's like, Michael Penix is right there.
Yeah. People have Bo Nix much closer to Spencer Rattler than they do Michael Penix. Like, if you were going to use a Bo Nix meter,
Interesting.
it would be closer to Rattler than
Is
it
that
would
because
be Penix.
Rattler is surprisingly high?
No, I think
It's
people
just-
are
okay.
overly high on Bo Nix.
So instead of a top 6, it's more of a top 5.
Or top 1 and then 3 and then...
Yeah, I think you could put him in more in tiers
Okay.
than you would one group.
Well, and so Henry, you were kind of asking James right before we had Baldy on kind of about those top quarterbacks and how it falls and how that impacts the
that's
Broncos.
right.
So let's get back into that. And, of course, our draft coverage is presented to you by Raising Cane's. Henry, I told you about the chicken fingers. Get the cane sauce as well. And make sure to download the app to get the best deals. Raising Cane's chicken fingers, you know what they say, Henry?
One love.
Boom, you nailed it.
There we go.
I was waiting for it. There was your pause.
yeah, there we go. There's the pause. One love. That's right.
So your
So
question.
the question was, what do the Broncos want to see on draft day? And I guess this might be a better question for a couple weeks from now when things have really sorted themselves out. But obviously, Caleb Williams is number 1. Do you want to see J.J. McCarthy go off the board right there and you just get the chaos? Do you want to see, like, Jaden Daniels right there? Drake May, I guess, could maybe be some chaos because the Patriots might not want Jaden Daniels. Is there Is there anything that stands
what are
out
they
to you?
hoping for?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing when you talk to all these GMs and how they have the board and how they go through so many different mocks. That's one of my favorite things during draft week is just to call people that have been in the room and just be like, all right, like with Denver at 12, like how many of your mocks have like all your mocks, what do they have happening at 12? Because they run through about a zillion different scenarios.
Yeah.
Everybody plays a GM from a different team, and they all sit around the table and say, all right, I'm taking so-and-so, and I'm taking so-and-so, and then this is going to happen. And so they try to run as many scenarios as possible. So the way I'm answering it, Henry, is kind of like you're going to see if it falls one way, and then this is how you react to it. So if all quarterbacks go early, and I'm not saying this is the case, but what if like Sean Payton and George Payton are like, JJ McCarthy, are you kidding me? Good, take him.
Exactly.
Another everybody else slides down a pick.
Right.
And then you start going, oh, good, all these quarterbacks came. Let's be honest. We don't even know right now if Sean likes any of the guys he has an availability for. He may not like any of them. And so he has a very different taste in terms of quarterbacks. It's kind of interesting. And so he may not like all of those guys up there. And he goes, oh, good, have them all go. Then the guys that are at the top of our board start sliding closer to us at 12. Oh, dang, then at 12, if we want to stay here, what if we end up getting an edge that's like top 3 on our board at 12?
Right.
All right, let's take it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So my point is, what do they want to have happen? They're going to be prepared for all of these different scenarios. One's going to be all these quarterbacks going early. What if they don't really like these quarterbacks? Or it's going, we kind of have intel that this is how 1, 2, and 3 are going to go. We can, on draft day, get to 4. And that's the quarterback. That's the only guy we're trading for. And that a lot of times, it's so funny. I don't know if people know this. Like, there are so many trades that are like this close to happening. And then they go, hey, all right, if so-and-so goes here, we're trading with you. The pick doesn't happen right, trade's off.
Yep.
Like the trade was killed by what happened the pick before. There's all those trades that are put in place. So it's funny when people go like, oh, why didn't they try to do? They did try.
Right.
Like everybody was like, oh, Kansas City didn't take a receiver. They tried so hard to get up for Zay Flowers like over and over and over again, and they couldn't. There's a lot that goes on that never ends up happening.
Didn't the Broncos have a deal with, I think it was the Bills, so the Bills could move up to 5 and get Josh Allen in that draft because the Broncos thought the Browns at number 4 were going to take Bradley Chubb, and he was going to be off the board.
Yeah,
and I believe that that's something I heard where then, wait, they take Denzel Ward? Bradley Chubb's there? Nope, sorry, Buffalo. We're going to take Bradley Chubb.
Exactly. That's the way most of those things end up happening.
Yeah.
This trade will happen if we don't get blank. Or we'll see, and then they recall. But all those trades are pretty much in place that morning of the draft.
Man, that's fat. And that's what's going on these next 3 weeks leading up to the draft. As Baldy said, 22 days away. And speaking of dream scenarios in the draft, we're doing a March Madness bracket of top picks that could land to the Broncos at 12. And today, James, I want to get your opinion. Okay. Our matchup today is Alabama's cornerback, Terrion Arnold, against Georgia's tight end, Brock Bowers. Who would be a better pick for the Broncos at 12?
I like what Baldy said. I think Brock Bowers changes this offense. He kind of like poo-pooed me a little bit when I said he could play the Michael Thomas role. That wasn't my opinion. That was like people around the league's opinion. Big body, put him in the slot, play a lot of that interior short passing game that Michael Thomas was so great with Drew Brees on. He can fill a lot of different things for you. I mean, that's a massive offensive weapon. I think I would take that over a corner. I don't hate the Broncos secondary. Like, it's not great. I don't hate it, though. I really don't. Does adding a corner that high in the draft opposite of Patrick Surtain make you go, let's go week 1, baby. Look at this corner duo. Now, if I'm like, I have Surtain as one of my corners, so it shuts down half the field, and now I got Brock Bowers on the offensive side of the ball, I'd be a little more stoked for week 1.
Yeah.
He's a rare talent, man. He is definitely a rare talent.
You have to have offense, and the Broncos need so much help on offense, specifically at that skill player position all over the board. So I agree with you. Yeah. To add a corner to Pat Surtain would be an incredible luxury.
That's a luxury pick if your roster's in place and you're sitting there.
Mm-hmm. Broncos aren't in a place for luxury picks right now. So I agree with you. I go Brock.
Yeah, I would too. Because I think the other way you look at it is you've got Damari Mathis and Riley Moss competing for that second cornerback spot. And so you can either block those two or you can block the tight ends, being, Nate Adkins, Greg Dulcich, which you don't necessarily want to block Greg Dulcich, but you just can't trust him as much. I'd rather see one of Damari Mathis and Riley Moss get a real opportunity to prove that they can be the cornerback of the future, and then bring in a tight end and say, like, let's see if this works out for Brock Bowers, especially because you can find ways if Greg Dulcich is healthy to get both of those guys on the field anyway.
And here's the other thing. If you take Bowers here and then you end up, in second round, maybe you don't. Well, you don't have a second round pick.
That's the,
whoops a daisies. Oops. That was the point. Maybe you you may not get your quarterback. How great would it be if you're setting up with maybe fewer quarterback needy teams next draft?
Exactly.
You get your quarterback and, oh, whoops, there's Brock Bowers, who is playing one of the toughest positions in football to learn as a rookie in his second year. Now with a rookie quarterback is kind of a nice thing to have.
It's a really good point.
And that does feel like the big hole in the offense as well. Whereas, like, you could add a receiver, but you already do have Cortland Sutton, Marvin Mims, Tim Patrick, Josh Reynolds, and so you're not full there because you could obviously upgrade, but you do have, like, it's kind of filled out. Same thing at running back, where you have Javonte Williams, Samaje Perine, Jaleel McLaughlin. You're blocking somebody if you bring a running back in. At tight end, though, that's the one spot where you really could just add a starter right there and upgrade the entire offense by just having one more real weapon.
Would you be upset if they took a tackle at 12?
No, I mean, it wouldn't be the most exciting move because you're in the weird spot with McGlinchey and Bowles, but after this year, you'd imagine at least one of those guys is gone anyway, so it'd probably be smart.
Yeah, that would be like the ultimate kind of, okay, we're really resetting this year move, which isn't the worst thing at all since they made many moves along that route. All right, we got to get into the Toyota Chat Super Chats. You got something here?
Real quick, I did put a poll up earlier in the show. Which QB would you want the Broncos to draft? It was J.J. McCarthy, Bo Nix, Jaden Daniels, or other. 30% said other.
Wow.
I would go Caleb Williams.
JJ didn't put him in there, unrealistic. But JJ McCarthy with 26, Bo Nix 22, Jaden Daniels only 20%.
That's shocking.
200
That's
votes.
wrong.
That's incorrect.
That's just wrong.
I have to imagine people that voted Jaden Daniels, they were thinking, okay, it's not just Jaden Daniels, it's two additional first-round picks to trade up and get him.
Maybe
Because,
that's true.
I agree
Yeah.
with you. Jaden Daniels, 100% of the way there if all things are equal. Okay, let's
Or
dive
Caleb
in
Williams.
to
Get
the
that
Super
other.
Chat. Yeah, there you
Yeah.
go.
Caleb Williams is your other?
Yeah.
That's a good play.
Derek Wright says, why is Sean Payton and J.J. McCarthy following each other on X? Oh, my gosh.
Wow.
I think Derek has broke the news first.
Yeah.
That that's the Broncos pick?
We haven't had a lot of Broncos drama with who's following who.
No.
I mean, we had...
Sean follows 1,000 people.
Damn.
So JJ's in the top
Any
1,000.
other quarterbacks?
I can't search through it that fast.
No. It'd be nice if you could search it. Yeah. Yeah.
You follow you, Zach?
I don't think so. Did he follow you?
Yeah.
Oh, hell yeah. Big
I thought you followed everybody in town.
Wow.
I was joking.
Yeah, I do think
that was a joke.
This is
Yep.
we're in the part of the year where you can't just believe anything anybody says. Who follows who, you believe even less. Like if you're Sean Payton, you could just easily say like, "Oh, I don't want JJ McCarthy. Let's follow him. Make everybody think we want him."
Oh, it's a Macho Man head game.
Just don't believe anything.
Smoke
Just don't
screen.
believe anything.
Yeah. Don't believe anything right now.
Next one from Mile High Sign, who
If
says,
it was that easy.
oh my gosh, could you imagine?
Decipher.
Exactly.
Says, will the Broncos open the season against the Steelers?
Ooh,
That'd be cool.
it would be cool.
That'd be real cool.
Yeah.
And you know who I think they'll be facing?
Justin Fields?
Justin Fields.
Oh, man.
Wow.
Will Russell Wilson be on the roster then?
That's a really good question.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't cost them anything if they wanted to move on. But it's really weird.
Yeah.
I mean, Kenny Pickett's not there. I just think Justin's going to win the job. I think from everything that I know, I think they're going to start this offseason with Russ as the number one. That's literally just for like continuity in spring practice. You're not going to sit there and rotate quarterbacks when everybody's getting going. And it's you have to do that. And everything Russ has done in this league, let's be honest, he does deserve that. But my understanding is Justin is going to get every opportunity to win that job. And if you think Mike Tomlin is not going to play who he thinks being out on that field he watches win the job, you don't know Mike Tomlin.
That would be wild.
I think he has a very good chance to do it.
So then maybe the Broncos Steelers shouldn't be prime time week one if it's not going to be Russ. against
The
Broncos.
emergence of Justin Fields just beat out Russ.
Man, Steelers Bears, that would be a good one if they play each other this year. That'd be a good prime time week 1 matchup, especially if it's going to be Justin Fields. Man, that is interesting. And James, this show has been very interesting. Thanks for all of the insight you brought, and hit us with a thumbs up on your way out. We've had a ton of people watching the show. We appreciate the support. Hit a thumbs up for James on the show.
For James,
thank you so much. I'll hit you a thumbs up every day. Henry, thank you for rocking and rolling with us. Thank you here. We'll be back tomorrow on the DNVR Broncos podcast.
We all silly like